1x Developer Podcast.
Hello, my listener friends.
Hello.
This is the 1x Developer Podcast, and I'm Colin.
I'm Brendan.
Whoa, my ear just did that thing. You ever have that thing where one ear is just like, out of nowhere?
Yeah.
That just happened.
Have you ever heard that thing? I have no idea if it's true, but medically true. But people will say, like, that frequency that you heard, that frequency has died and you will never hear it again.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
I think it's bullshit. But I have heard that before, that, like, when you have that, it's like some nerve cell dying.
I mean, I don't know what causes it. That's the nerve thing sounds okay, but I feel like I can still hear that. I don't feel like I'm losing frequencies every time that happens.
Do you ever have the one that goes, that, like, is a frequency sweep? It goes like, ooh.
Oh yeah, very, very rarely. I think I might have had that.
Yeah.
I prefer to believe that I live in a simulation, and that was like, I don't know, one of the pins in my USB port going out or something.
Yep. Somebody
like
called in for repairs.
Yeah. They rebooted something.
Yeah. Well, hope it gets fixed soon, man.
Yeah, I think that's a lot more logical and reasonable. So that out of the way, what are we talking about today, Brendan?
So I have this idea that's kind of been kicking around in my head for a while about, it has to do with software development as a field, like a career field, and the way that we kind of progress through our career as software developers, and how it's similar to and different from the trades, basically, where there's like there are defined stages that you go through. Like if you're going to get into carpentry, right? You start out as an apprentice, you do that for a few years, and you're supervised and you have so many hours, and you like are working towards your license. And then after that, you're a journeyman, and you can kind of like work on your own. And, all this stuff is kind of regulated by state bodies and stuff like that. I don't know. I've just kind of wondered about, would we be better off if software development had some kind of like career path like that?
So how does that actually work? Like in those trade fields where there's like structured titles like that? Do you know?
I mean, everything I know I got from reading online. And yeah, and I should say that I did a few hours of research on this. I'm sure that people have done, much more in-depth research on this. But what do you mean by how it works?
Well, like, okay, so I become an apprentice. What's the example we're going with?
Let's do electrician.
Okay, yeah. So I'm an apprentice electrician, and well, first of all, are there requirements for that? You have to do some training before you can become an apprentice electrician, or can you just do it?
That's a good question. I assume you have to do something. I mean, if you're working as an apprentice, that's an entry-level position, right? You're on the job. You're being supervised, as far as I understand. So there's this thing that I'm reading here says, combines on-the-job training with classroom instruction. But I assume that they don't send you out to the job site with no knowledge whatsoever, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
I assume you do some of the classroom instruction before.
Right, and I know there's like classes for that sort of thing. But so then you're an apprentice electrician, and you do that for like a certain amount of time, or what?
Yeah, so you do that for a few years. You have a certain number of hours that you have to get. This one I'm reading here says 2,000 hours. Yeah, and during that time you're actually like on jobs doing stuff, but you're working under someone who's like supervising you heavily. And really, that's kind of the part that sticks out to me, is like, I think we would I don't know. I really wonder sometimes if software development would benefit from that. If we had a thing where like when you were new to the field, you really worked closely under someone who was like looking at every one of your pull requests, um, every one of everything you wrote. Um, I don't know how it was for you, but it was not like that for me. I feel like I was kind of thrown into the fire a little bit.
Yeah, same here. I would say that's pretty similar. So what happens like? I mean, what's the difference between like an apprentice and a journeyman? I know I'm asking you guys as if you're like an expert, but like, can an apprentice not like if I translate it to programming, right? Can an apprentice programmer not push to prod, but like a journeyman programmer can?
Yeah, maybe. Um, or maybe a journeyman. So a journeyman is capable of working on their own unsupervised. So whether that means pushing to prod or maybe it means you don't have to get your pull request reviewed, something like that. Um, yeah, so somewhere in that vein.
Hmm. I feel like everyone should get their pull request reviewed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Say more about that. You think like the guy who's been there for 15 years also needs to have his pull request reviewed?
Well, I think it should be right. I mean, unless there's like a really good reason why not. Like, I mean, in GitHub you can turn on the option to require a certain amount of reviews, and like the project I work on at work requires. I think all the repos I'm on requires one review. So before you can merge, you literally cannot merge unless you've gotten at least one review from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I think there are probably cases where it's probably okay if you can get around that, like some hot fix on a Saturday, no one's around to review, like this just needs to go out. But I would say, like, barring extreme cases like that, probably someone else should take a look at it.
Interesting. I didn't really think about that, but I kind of assumed that there was a level that you kind of graduate to where you can just kind of do it without anybody looking at it. But I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe everyone
Well, and that
should
makes
have
sense,
their
but
reviews.
because I don't think of like I don't say that so much because of like an expertise thing or anything like that, but just the fact that like we all make mistakes, right? The same way that like I wouldn't want, no matter how long you've been writing or however long you've been a journalist, I want the editor to look at it before you publish it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it.
that's a good point. Yeah, I'd have to think about that a little more. I tend to think there's a level that you get to where I don't know. I think it kind of depends on the project and the team, maybe. But um,
Well, yeah, I mean, I would get
kind of
like
what you're doing.
there's other there should be other things in place, right? The like if you have like a full CI/CD pipeline, you should be able to see that everything built before the before everything can be merged and stuff or whatever. Like there should be checks that have to pass.
Yeah,
But anyway, I feel like I'm getting in the weeds there. The
but
general idea that being that like yeah, different levels have different requirements and different roles and responsibilities makes sense.
yeah, and I think even in the case where let's say you've graduated to journeyman programmer, um, let's say I think even if someone is reviewing your pull requests, like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're working really closely with them and that um, they're supervising everything you're doing. Like I feel like that's really the difference with the apprentice is that they're looking over your shoulder, making sure that you're doing everything right and like um, really kind of like going over what you're doing with a fine tooth comb.
Okay. So how do you feel about like the job titles that we have right now, right? Like it seems pretty standard that there's junior developer and senior developer. Um, Beyond that, it seems like it varies a bit more from company to company, right? Like there's principal, there's lead. Honestly, I don't really know the difference between those. There's staff. I've seen that. I don't really know where that falls in there either. But do you think that correlates? Do you think like junior and maybe like junior software engineer, senior? That sounds like pretty similar to like apprentice, journeyman. What's master?
Yeah, master's the next one. I think they are pretty similar. I think the difference is that they are really ill-defined and vary a lot from company to company, right? I don't think that they are. I do think those titles are kind of like standardized throughout the industry a bit, but you know, there's no. I don't think there's any requirement that a junior developer spend 4 years being a junior developer. That's like an industry standard. You know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah, and yeah, it does vary. It definitely varies from place to place.
I think that's the big maybe that's the big difference between these things is that in the trades, these things are like state regulated. Like you have to do this thing in order to get your license. You have to, prove to whoever it is, like the state board or whatever, that you've learned this stuff in order to get your license and do this work. And we don't have any sort of like defined requirements industry wide for those roles that you're talking about.
So is the move from apprentice to journeyman to master, is that based entirely off of hours worked, or is there like an exam or something?
I think there is a licensing exam. So I think you get your license as before you become a journeyman, and then you work a few years as a journeyman and then become a master, as I understand.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I just, you know, I think part of the interesting thing about this is that like we've talked before on the podcast about how software development, like the typical path for a software developer is to go to a 4-year college, right? But I've argued and many others have argued that like that's not necessary for most of the coding jobs. I think it's necessary if you want to get like a deep understanding of computer science and information theory and that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's necessary to do I don't think it's necessary in order to do most of the coding jobs that like you and I do on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know. That just got me thinking like, I don't know, maybe we need something that's more like a trade. But in thinking about this a little more, it's almost like we've developed kind of like halfway measures, like these boot camps and stuff like that, that are they're not regulated at all. They just kind of like promise to shortcut the 4-year college institution, but they're not regulated at all. And maybe that's okay. Like maybe that's actually what we want. Because one of the big things with the trades is that the reason we have the licenses and stuff is because like you can burn a house down if you're not doing your electrical right, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not really the case with code generally.
Yeah. So I have a few thoughts there. Also, like that last bit made me think. Also like this applies to things other than trades as well, right? Like I know lawyers have to pass a bar exam. Uh, I don't really know why. Is Do you know the history behind that? Like, I mean,
I don't.
Because I don't think. I mean, you could ruin someone's life, I guess, if you're a really bad lawyer. Um, but even I've talked about it on the podcast before. I studied electrical and computer engineering in college, and there is an engineering um, license certificate. There's the fundamentals of engineering exam, which if you take that, you can become I forget what you become, but I took that exam. It was 8 hours long in Missouri.
Wow.
And it basically covers pretty much all the basics of like your engineering bachelor's degree. And then after you do that, if you work for some amount of time, then you can take the professional engineering exam and become a PE. which is what you really want, because when you become a PE, it's like pretty much what you're talking about with like a master electrician or something. At that point, you can like sign off on things, and certain contracts, like certain companies are going to require so many PEs to like do certain work or whatever. So once you become a PE, that's when it's like it's interesting. I mean, I knew that I was going to work in software pretty much at the time I finished college, but I just kind of wanted to take the fundamentals of engineering exam just to say that I did it and like kind of prove to myself that I was like, yeah, I did an engineering degree and I like could have done that. And I did because it was just if I remember right, it's just pass or fail pretty much, right? You either pass or you don't. And I did pass, but like I said, it was 8 hours long in one of those testing facilities where you're like not allowed to make any noise and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, that was nuts. My brain was completely fried at the end.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. I mean, because it basically covers like there was like 8 different sections, I think. Um, there was like, you know, I think there was 1 or 2 sections that was like pure math, and there was a section that was on like circuit design. Um, there was a section on computer networking, which was actually crazy because I didn't actually take any classes on that.
Hmm.
There were some that were kind of easy. Like there was one that was like ethics of engineering, I think, which is like pretty much common sense, really.
Don't
And a couple,
electrocute people.
yeah. I mean, it really, it's do the right thing, be a good person, pretty much. And there was I think there was a couple other things that were like that were kind of like um, less, not like deep technical things. Um, anyway, I don't know if anything like that exists for software. Really, I feel like it probably should. Um, but yeah, this is something that seems to exist in a lot of fields. Doctors have stuff like this, obviously. I mean, even even to like drive a truck of a certain size, right? You need a CDL.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things going on there. One is just that computer science is a very young field, right? Um, it's only, I don't know, what, 50 years old, 60, something like that. And like I think that regulation just really hasn't caught up to it yet. Um, we've kind of been on our own to like make up our own, certifications and all that kind of stuff as we go. But I think the other more maybe interesting thing to talk about is like, I think there's a lot of people who think that this kind of state intervention or regulation would like stifle some of the really, really fast innovation that happens in computer science, by the time you make a curriculum and try to like enforce that, like, well, now the thing is you need to know React, right? Already that now React is gone. We've moved beyond that. Now we do something else. Things move so fast in computer science that I think it's really hard to make any kind of like enforceable curriculum, but also I don't know. It's hard to. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I think it's really just hard to like make any kind of curriculum around that stuff that you can.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean. Like it's hard to set like rigid requirements on something like that, and that was something that I kind of came to mind for me. Like, I mean, so, and I'm pretty ignorant to trade work, but I I feel like there's different kinds of electricians, right? There's like commercial electrician stuff. There's residential,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like that's different from like, okay, like if I become a master Java developer, is that different from being a master Python developer? Are those two different paths with their own rankings, right? Or is there just one? You know what I mean?
Hmm. I mean, I think there's an analogy there, like being good at whatever you'd call it, software architecture makes you both a good Java developer and a good Python developer, and knowing the good fundamentals of being an electrician makes you could potentially make you a good commercial and residential, even though you can specialize in any of those things, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess that's not that different from like there's a billion different kinds of doctors, and a lot of them know basically nothing about what the other ones do beyond like a fundamental level. So I guess that's not really that different.
I think you just, I think you start with the basics, and at some point in your career and your training, you specialize. And I think for programming, that means either a framework or a language or something like that you like really drill down deep and become an expert on.
So one other thing that I was kind of thinking about is like I was kind of thinking about like belt systems in martial arts,
Hmm.
which is kind of a famous. Or I feel like even people who aren't in martial arts, they're familiar with this idea that like you have different color belts and they signify a different level of skill.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the interesting things about it is that, first of all, every art is different in the way their belt systems work, right? Like karate, a karate black belt has totally different requirements from like a jiu-jitsu black belt. And even more granular than that, like different gyms can adhere to their own thing. Like, if an instructor gives you a belt, like they can just do that, right? It might not be like recognized by like the governing bodies of that art or whatever, but they can just do that.
Interesting.
And yeah, I mean, there's like, the belt stuff is like a whole thing. Like there's always tons of discussion about like, oh, that guy's belt is fake. It's like not a real black belt because he didn't do this, or his lineage is in question or whatever. There's tons of stuff there. And then there's, I did jujitsu for a while, and jujitsu is a great art, but there is a little bit of a bad rap that jujitsu guys have about being like kind of snobs about belts, right? Because a jujitsu black belt is notoriously hard to get in that world. It's one of the most prestigious black belts because it just takes a long time. It takes a lot of work to get to. And so a lot of jiu-jitsu guys will say like, oh, you have a taekwondo black belt, that's fake. Oh, that karate black belt, that's fake. Or that's not that's not like mine or whatever. You'll even hear people say things like a jiu-jitsu blue belt or purple belt is equivalent to a karate black belt. I've never done karate. I don't know. I'm not saying these things. I don't feel like you can really compare things like that. But it's interesting also because like I have heard about how some of these belt systems work, and in jiu-jitsu typically it's just kind of like your instructor is like, okay, yeah, you're at this level now. And I know that like in some schools, like in taekwondo or in karate, you have to like learn these katas.
Right.
And like you present your katas, and there's like an exam, and they test that these specific things, and when you know these specific things and have them memorized and can execute them right, then you get the next belt or whatever. And it's just like very structured, like there's these specific curriculum, whereas jiu-jitsu is very much vibes. And I remember I've even heard that there's a guy who told me that it's almost even regional sometimes. Like he was saying that when he lived in California, getting a blue belt was people got their belts a lot faster. And he said out here in the Midwest, it's like people who are like really good will be white belts, and it's just like kind of just a thing, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like because jujitsu is very it's very competition centric, right? So there's kind of a thing, and again, there's tons of different opinions on how these things work. I should also disclose that I never got past white belt. Okay, so like I'm not like an authority on any of this stuff. But I mean, a lot of it's competition centric, right? And there's kind of a thing like if you have a white belt who enters a competition at the white belt level and gets destroyed, you're probably not going to give him his blue belt yet. So it kind of makes sense that if this is kind of how the promotion process works in this area, with then you compete with those guys, so you'll kind of adopt that too, right?
Oh, right.
So
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I just assume that's kind of part of why it happens that way. Um, anyway, that's to say, like, my point is just like when it comes to like gauging skill level, there's in anything, there's just like so many different ways to go about it. There's so many questions that have to be answered, and it kind of seems like there's like never a perfect system, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's always going to be problems, right? I mean, you can easily criticize the kata's like exam structure by saying like, well, just because you can do that doesn't mean you can fight. And then you can easily criticize the jujitsu structure by saying like, well, maybe you do well, but like you don't know these other like fundamental things that you should know, right? Um, so who's to say?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's spot on. One of the things that was really interesting about this that got me thinking about it was I was thinking about all these, you hear all these stories. We've had these conversations on the podcast about like hiring and how to assess knowledge, like when it comes to hiring people for a job. Um, and you hear all these stories about like people who come out of college but can't write FizzBuzz or whatever, right? That was the whole point of FizzBuzz was like, I just want to know that you can actually write a program that does just basic stuff, that you can do
Right.
that on your own without any kind of assistance. And like, yeah, no, I think you're 100% right that it's very difficult to assess assess knowledge and like how thoroughly someone really like understands the field.
Another thing that I forgot to mention is I know that in jiu-jitsu, after black belt, the promotion process then turns into a time-based promotion. So when it becomes to like degrees of black belt, that's just how long you've had your black belt, basically.
Oh,
Um, so which is kind of interesting because that's just like totally different of how like the previous belt system worked.
does that
I mean,
involve? Do you have to
previous
like
like
be actively competing?
yeah, I think you have to be active, and there's some sort of process to it.
Hmm.
Because obviously not everyone can just give you a degree under black belt, right? Um, but yeah, but also I mean there are martial arts schools out there that will just give belts, like they just make up their own belt system and they just go with it. So I guess it's more similar to what we have now in programming, where it's like, yeah, there's certifications. This one means this. This one means this. This one's really hard to get. This one I've heard is not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's more like that.
Yeah, I'm certified in this. By who and for what? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Scrum ninja, or I'm a Sigma. What?
Got my Rockstar programmer certification.
Yeah. Came in a cereal box.
But yeah, I think that um so yeah, I think that state regulation of like issuing licenses and stuff are all ways to try to combat that, to try to come up with like instead of the kind of hodgepodge approach with different arts doing different things different ways that you're talking about, we have kind of this we for the trades where we feel like you're right about that also, that not just trades but like lawyers, doctors, this kind of stuff, these professions that we feel like are important and are going to do a lot of damage if we get it wrong. The state is like, well, okay, we're gonna tell you like this minimum level of knowledge that you need to demonstrate that you know before we give you a license, and programming is not one of those.
Yeah. I have heard, or like I've read online, people have this theory that like some of those are basically just a way for like the people who work in that field to like protect their jobs. Like they have this governing body and you have to get this certification, and they all kind of just came together and agreed on this so that like people can just to make it like harder to become like certified to do that job, so it's harder to get that job so they can inflate their salaries. I have no idea if there's any validity to that or
Are you,
history.
Are you talking about lawyers and stuff?
Yeah, I think I've heard it with like dentists.
Hmm.
I feel like I heard that once. Like, yeah, dentists they're all in this racket to like you got to be a licensed dentist because then dentists can like make more money, right? Because it's harder to become a dentist.
I kind of want my dentist to be licensed, though. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I do too.
I mean, I guess the thing about it is we don't really, you and I don't really know what the licensing means, right? We can, the guy will say like,
Yeah,
I'm ADA certified or whatever, but it's like you and I don't really know what that means. I don't know.
right. Yeah, yeah. I really don't know. But I don't know. That's something I wonder about. I mean, that would happen, right? Like if there was some certification that you needed to get to be a programmer, uh, the the amount of employable programmers would decline, right? Decrease in some way, and the demand for programmers would increase in some way, right? At least a little bit. Something to think about.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
So maybe that's part of why it hasn't really happened, right? Because it's always been like, hey, we need more people to do this. We need more people who can do this.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we've never wanted to put the brakes on the number of people becoming programmers. Um, ever since, ever since software started eating the world.
Yeah, but we've got too many dentists.
We, everyone out there just wants to be a dentist, man. Can I tell
Yeah,
you something? Totally, like we're way off topic, but
that's what I
um,
love.
dentist is like the very bottom of my list of jobs that I would want to do.
Hmm. Okay.
It's maybe might be the bottom of the list. Like I
Okay.
don't care how
But
much you get paid and all that.
I mean, do you mean dentist or like dental hygienist?
Dentist.
Really?
I well, I mean
Because like
both. I
I think
don't
being
want
a
to be
dental
sticking my
hygienist would
fingers in
suck.
mouth.
But I mean, the dentist for me is usually he just like comes in, he looks in, he's like, "Yep, all right, doing good. See ya. 6 months." You know?
Yeah, but like he also does, surgeries and stuff for more serious
Yeah.
cases. That's just because your teeth are pretty good. But like people who have really
There's
bad teeth,
there's got to be some kind of doctor that's worse than that, though. You know,
proctologist,
like what does a proctologist do?
that's the butt.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Doing colonoscopies probably sucks.
I don't know. I'm gonna go dentist. I colonoscopy seems so clinical. It's not people
Yeah,
are out for their colonoscopies. There's no
that's true
like
too. They're not fighting
squirming and
you.
complaining.
Here's what I think it is. Probably like the worst dentist, the worst dental patient is worse than the worst butt patient.
Yeah.
But the average dentist day is probably better. I'm thinking. I'm guessing.
Hmm.
A good dentist appointment is better than a good butt appointment.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. What's your least favorite job? If you were gonna rank jobs, what would be your least favorite?
Jeez, I've never thought of this.
The,
Um, I'm trying to think of like the episodes of Dirty Jobs I've seen. You remember that show?
yeah, that was the Mike Rowe one, right?
Yeah, Mike Rowe. Ah, man,
Are you good with bugs? Would you be like an
I don't like
exterminator?
bugs, but I feel like I could do that. I feel like I could do that. It's got to be like, oh, I don't know, like being the guy who like empties the septic tank. That's got to be pretty bad.
That's no fun. Yeah, just put on your galoshes and wade through a whole bunch.
Does he have to like actually go in there?
I don't think so. I think they
Yeah,
just
he just like sticks a tube in there, right?
hook up the thing. Yeah,
Yeah, but it smells. I mean, it's gonna smell.
yeah. I mean, you probably come home stanking every day. That's no fun.
Yeah.
I still think it's better than putting your fingers in people's mouths all day.
Uh, Man, I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's just something
Uh,
for me personally. A dentist is like, it icks me out. I don't want it. I don't want. I don't want to be any part of it.
there's got to be something that's just like really. I feel like a worse job for me would be like something that was just really uncomfortable. Like I waited tables for a while, and that was probably the worst job I ever had. Mostly because I'm just like entirely too awkward to be like presenting myself to a table and stuff. It took so much energy out of me to do that. Or like if something was wrong, it was like I had to build myself up to like go to the table and tell them something was wrong.
Yeah.
So I feel like the worst job for me would be something that's like I don't know, like where I gotta talk to people in like a really uncomfortable way somehow. I don't know.
Did you see that movie with George Clooney where his job was just firing people?
To firing people, yeah, yeah, I did see that movie.
That'd be a
Uh,
pretty bad job.
that'd be pretty bad. Yeah, I feel like I'd be good at it though.
Really? You think you'd be good at it?
Yeah, it would be terrible. Yeah, that would be rough, man. Oh, and also, isn't the thing in that movie that like his whole life is in a backpack? He travels constantly.
Yeah.
That would suck. That would suck.
I, you know, traveling
Okay,
constantly
like
would be terrible.
I think working in like childcare would be really hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would.
And just for the same reason I was talking about, right? Like just personality wise, like that would be weird for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be tough for me too. I don't see myself ever landing in that job, partially because um like I think you have to really be into childcare in order to pursue those jobs. You know what I mean?
Oh
They're
yeah,
not like
and
well respected or well paying or any of those other things,
yeah,
unfortunately.
no, yeah, and I mean, like my kids in daycare, and it's like yeah, they just work their asses off all day, and and you know it's we live in a world where there's like your gender is associated, your career and gender is like related, and yeah, I feel like I mean, I don't want to stereotype and say like women are better with that or like men are better than that or anything like that. But uh, I will just say that like if I was running a daycare and a guy like you came up and was like, "Yeah, I really want to work here," I'd be like, "Okay, I don't think so." Like, we'll find somebody, you know what I mean?
Damn, dude, that's cold.
I would say that to any of my guy friends. Like I'd just be like, "Okay, that's like weird." I mean, at my kids' daycare, it's literally all women. I don't
Yeah.
think there's a single man in the whole place.
Do you consider software development to be a male career?
It's male dominated, like dominated. But I mean, I've worked with women that have been great.
That's
But
the
yeah,
thing
it's
is
mostly men.
I don't think there's anything inherent about it. Like I think there are like systemic reasons why it's male dominated, but I don't think there's anything inherently about it that would make it, I don't know, male suited to males.
Whereas like with like childcare, it's like there's a thing there. Like women are like give birth. We're gonna have to cut this out. We're gonna have to cut this part.
Yeah, get ourselves in trouble here.
uh, Not really. I don't think we said anything crazy that anybody would really disagree with. But I think you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about licensing. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I think I'm against this idea generally. I think it's better that we don't have something so structured and rigid right now. Um, but it would be nice if, like, in like a non-government way, if there was like some more solid way to like gauge. I mean, we've talked about how like hiring sucks in this field.
Yeah.
I think I might have brought this up before. Um, I swear one day we'll have an episode where we don't talk about the Primogen. But I know I saw a video of his where he was kind of saying that he thinks it would be cool if there was something sort of between boot camps and degrees.
Mm.
If there was
Mhm.
just like kind of just like an accelerated degree kind of thing, where it's like, and I'm probably misremembering, but like basically it would be more than the boot camp thing, right? There'd be more fundamentals. There'd be more like deep dive into like software engineering concepts, software architecture, that kind of thing. But it would be less like, you wouldn't be like forced to take all these like state mandated, where like you don't have to take speech, you don't have to take an English class, like it's programming. Um, I think that's an interesting idea.
Wasn't that kind of the point of an associate's degree? It was like a 2-year degree that was
That
kind of
would,
focused on that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I feel like that was the idea. And I don't know. It seems like the whole world just kind of like forgets that associate's degrees exist,
Hmm.
right? Like I feel like employers don't really care much about them.
I thought about getting one at one point when I was younger, and that's kind of the impression I got was like, I don't know. I don't know that it would help me that much.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen those charts on like Bureau of Labor Statistics where it shows like average income for each degree, right? And I think people with an associate's generally make more than people without. But if I remember right, it was kind of a small bump. And I always have to tell people, like, when I talk about career stuff with like non-software people, I feel like I'm always explaining like, well, that's not how it works in this field. Well, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, uh, someone was telling me the other day that I should explore getting a graduate level degree, and I was like, I don't think I should. I don't think like in this field that really matters much unless you really want to get into like something academic, like research focused.
Right. Yeah, I think unless you're wanting to get into academia, I don't think that would really gain you much.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe if you're working at like OpenAI, maybe they want master's degree PhDs, people that are like experts in AI or something. But I think generally, I don't think it helps you much.
So I think you kind of answered this, but I was going to ask you. So if you're not in favor of like state regulation or more bureaucracy around this stuff, yeah, would do you think we're in a good place? Do we need less? Do we need like less focus on the 4-year degrees and more on the boot camps? Um, I really like that idea of an accelerated degree, something that's like in between. I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I think it would be cool if there was some sort of just, I don't know, some sort of stamp of approval you could kind of put on people, just to prove that they, like basically a FizzBuzz certificate, you
Hmm.
know, but more than that, or maybe multiple levels of that, right? Like, just like um something that shows that you've got like some understanding of programming design, or like software design, and uh, software architecture, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it really is lame that it's kind of like just on every employer just has to like implement their own system for vetting people, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know what that would look like. Uh, I think it is a little unfortunate that there is a lot of emphasis on degrees. It seems like that's kind of changing a little. Um, but okay, that was one other thing I wanted to talk about actually. So I remember once I was talking to somebody about martial arts, and they were asking me about the belt system or whatever, and I was kind of telling them about it, and they were like, okay, but what happens if, like, let's say you show up and you're just like really crazy good, like let's just say you're black belt level good your first day, like that's pretty much impossible, but like what if that happened? And I was like, I don't know, I mean, I guess it's up to the instructor. I would think most people would make you do at least 6 months or something before giving you promoting you.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's something I kind of dislike about. I mean, that's one thing that kind of sucks about companies requiring a degree. But I also think that's something that kind of sucks about like the time based apprenticeship thing, right? Like it kind of sucks that you have to be an apprentice for 2,000 hours, like no matter how good you are, you know? Especially in a field like this where it's like so many people are really good and they're completely self-taught.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't know. I don't have a huge problem with that in a field where we're talking about life or death, burning a house down kind of stuff, right? Um,
Well, yeah.
I think for like an electrician or something, it really is. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with like the time. Like I think part of it also is just observing you over like how do you do on the job, right? There's a lot that goes into that. Hopefully, it's not just like you might show up and know all there is to know about doing electrical, but are you showing up drunk, right? Are you showing up
Right,
like
yeah.
there's someone looking over your shoulder who's like watching for this kind of stuff. Um, and I think that's stuff that maybe might present itself over time. So I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem with like an extended period of apprenticeship.
Right. If it was just about your technical knowledge, then it would just be a test. But
Right.
but I mean, but what do you think about that in terms of programming though, as a software engineer, right? Like, okay, you're a junior developer for 1 year, no matter what, no matter how good you are. I guess that's basically how it works. Still, like most companies aren't going to make you a senior engineer unless you have a certain amount of years.
Right.
So
I think the issue there is almost just more like company politics, right? I think most people in the company would feel shitty on the software team would feel shitty if this guy comes in and like 6 months later he's senior dev, right?
yeah,
People would have an issue with that, no matter how good you are, no matter what you can demonstrate. Um, so I don't know. I think there's that factor to it too.
well,
But
and I think honestly, now I think about it more, like it's the same as what you were talking about with the electrician example, really, right? Because like the difference between a junior engineer and a senior engineer, it's not just their technical know-how. It's like their ability to like, it's kind of the role that they play on the team, right? And kind of like the way that they lead. Oh, Jocko Willink has this phrase he uses, like leading up and down the chain of command. He calls it, right. Like you kind of lead your peers in a way, right?
hmm, hmm,
Uh, that's like a skill that junior engineers don't have, right? Typically, they're
yeah,
not like inspiring the people around. They're not like asking questions that make people like make good like long term decisions and that kind of thing. That's something that kind of comes with time, I guess.
yeah, perfect. I think that's exactly right. Is that there are things about your character and how you fit into the team, and yeah, the role that you play that only reveal themselves over time. Um, yeah, you won't see within the first 6 months. You won't see every kind of Jira ticket. You know.
Okay, so yeah, I feel like you're winning me over a little bit.
Well, I I just think it's an interesting idea to think about. Like I'm not necessarily in favor of state regulation, but I'm also I also think we're just in kind of a weird place with software development, and it really does feel like kind of a hodgepodge, and companies are left to their own devices or left to their own like each company has to determine for themselves like what kind of certifications are important and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a really weird place to be in. I wonder if a little more structure would help. Maybe it wouldn't. You know, I I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, like you were talking about, to make a certification that limits the number of programmers.
Yeah, it is interesting, but I also think that the fact that it's the way it is like probably one of the things that kind of drew me to this career. Like the fact that it's something that you can just like just come in and just learn, and like if you're good, you can do it. You know, I feel
Yeah,
like that's actually really appealing about this career. I think that's something that draws a lot of people to it.
100%. Yeah, we've talked on the podcast before about like, if you have a computer, you can program. There's like very low barrier to entry. And I guess the same is true for electrical, but like, don't. Hopefully, you're not just messing around with your electrical for the fun of it. But like, yeah, it's low risk, it's low barrier to entry, and you can just kind of like, yeah, you can just kind of learn it on your own without somebody giving you the okay or giving you access to equipment or anything like that. You can just do it. You don't need anyone's permission.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think of like what would be my nightmare job. I spend a lot of time thinking about like what would be like dream jobs or I play this game sometimes like what would be like a crappy job that I would want to have? Like a job that's like not high status. Like, if you were like in high school again, like what job would you like to have? So mine was I would like to work at a movie theater. I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. So, like, if you could sustain your family and your household on by working in a movie theater, you would do that?
I mean, I'd still probably be I'd rather be a programmer probably, but like, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, like you put yourself in this, like, if there was like one unskilled labor job that you had to do and like pay isn't a factor. Yeah. Like what would it be? So some people will say, hang on, I've asked people this before and I'm trying to think now. Like maybe you'd say like lifeguard, if you like being outside or like, you want to coach Little League or something. I
think it'd be fun to be a park ranger.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. Hey, park rangers, don't they actually like? Don't they require some training? Like, can anybody just be a park ranger?
I don't know. I've never really looked into it. I just think it would be, as we're talking about this now, I don't know. It seems like it would be a nice job. You're hanging around outside. Cool. You're maintaining trails, that kind of stuff.
Would be pretty cool.
No Jira
I think
tickets.
That's yeah. I feel like yeah, I think park rangers like usually have degrees. Or have at least 1 year of specialized experience at the GS4 level and 2 years of post-secondary education if qualifying through a combination of education and experience.
Right, so that's all government stuff, so it's very regimented as to like pay grades and all that.
But yeah, there's got to be something in that wheelhouse, like working at a national park that you could do. That would be cool.
I think that would be real nice. I mean, I'm sure there's crappy parts of that job too, but like, it sounds idyllic.
Yeah, and I went to a historic site in the area the other day, and they had those people who like dress like people from the era, and they like the ones I talked to, they didn't do a whole lot of the like role playing stuff, but like they must just like tell you about stuff. But we were talking to one lady working there. She was saying it's actually really tight. Like she basically just hangs out in this old cabin and just like she's just chilling in there basically. And it's a really cool view, really nice. She's outside, just like pretend she's a pilgrim all day. Talks to people. Like that does sound pretty cool.
Does she talk to people as if she's from the olden times?
She wasn't talking to us like that, really. I guess that's kind of optional. I don't know. Because yeah, that would get old.
Yeah. I also don't know that it really enhances the experience for the viewers that much, but
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. Think about it. Think about nightmare job and get back to me on that because I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll think about it. All right. With a little bit of time left, let's get into whose side are you on?
Whose side are you on?
I've got a few. Well, I've got a few that are relevant today, but I don't know. I don't know if who cares. Let's just do it. Um, should you go to college
No.
to be
Nobody should go to college.
to work in this? To be a software engineer, should you go to college? What do you think?
Yes. I think you should. I think didn't we do a whole episode on this? I feel like we did a whole episode.
Maybe we did. Oh no, maybe we did. Okay, let's switch to another one because yeah, I think we did, and I mean, yeah, probably.
Because I remember you were saying that a lot of the like auxiliary classes were really like important for you.
Yeah, this was like I think this was a pretty early episode we did. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so embarrassed right now. All right. Okay. Well, here's kind of a similar one. Do you need to be good at math to be good at programming?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Somebody asked me the other day if I did math at work. They were like, "Do you do a lot of math at work?" And I was like, "Yes." And then I was like thinking about it later. I was like, maybe not. But the thing is I feel like I do encounter math a lot in my side projects, right? Like the game development stuff, the audio development stuff. We had a whole video on trigonometry. Linear algebra is huge in any kind of 3D programming. So I don't know. I don't think you have to be, but I think that you're gonna like if you say I'm good at programming but I'm not good at math, you're eventually gonna run up against things that you want to do but you feel like your lack of math skills are preventing you from doing. And it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I think you put that really well. But also I would say like if you're good at programming and you're not good at math, I'm almost kind of curious like what's going on there. I mean, I remember a long time ago I saw I don't remember where I saw this, but somebody said that like you actually do algebra all the time, you just don't realize you're doing it.
Yes.
This is something I read somewhere. And like I feel like programming is you're not really doing math. Like again, like you said, it depends a lot on what you're doing. But like my day to day, I'm not really doing math, but I'm doing things that are very like similar to the thinking patterns of like doing algebra, right? Like there's a lot of stuff that's very similar, like type of thinking. So I don't think I've ever met someone who was like a super cracked programmer who was just like really bad at math, or at least like maybe they weren't educated in math, but like they would be good at math, if they would have applied themselves to it, like maybe they don't know all the notation and stuff, but like, so the question was, do you need to be good at math? That was what I had in my notes. So I would say no.
I'm going to say no too. Short answer, no.
But yeah, short answer is no, but with a very big caveat, which is like, if you're good at programming, you probably are good at math.
Yeah,
and
no, exactly.
And like you said, like, yeah, if you want to get into game dev, yeah, you probably need to do some math.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I really think anyone who is good at programming but doesn't believe they're good at math just has some kind of like mental limitation around.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever it was, they didn't do well in math in school or whatever. It's like programming is very math-like, and like I promise you, if you sit down and really like apply yourself to it, you will be good at math if you're good at programming.
And I would say I think that's pretty common. I think people get like a mental block with math because they had like a really mean math teacher, or like just the notation freaks them out. When you get into higher level math, calculus and stuff, a lot of that is just crazy notation for ideas that are like not that complicated.
Hmm.
And uh, yeah, I think a lot of people convince themselves they're bad at math when they're not.
Yeah. Yep. That's definitely true. And
Also, math is not arithmetic, right? That's another thing. People think like, oh, I can't divide these numbers in my head really quick, so I'm bad at math. Like, no, that's not. You can use a calculator.
yeah, that's the other thing I was going to say. I don't think that the math we learn in school until you get to like high school at least, maybe college, like I don't think that that's yeah, I don't think that that's really like the math that we're talking about, you know? I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah.
you
I'm
need
talking
that
like
stuff.
algebra. Yeah, I'm talking about algebra and trigonometry for specific things, like you said. Um, calculus, sort of. Calculus is always weird because calculus is like not really one thing,
Hmm.
but uh, yeah, that stuff.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people who have just convinced themselves they're not good at math, but I think they're generally not programmers.
Yeah, for a long time, I thought I wasn't very good at math.
Really?
Yeah, when I was in school. Well, and it wasn't really that I didn't think I was good at math. It was just like I was way better at like writing and stuff.
Hmm. What about in college when you really got into like the math behind electrical engineering and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't as good as a lot of my peers, and that kind of freaked me out. But I felt like I was good enough to do it. Like, I felt like I could do math.
Nice. I've always really liked math. I did well in school, and I've always thought that if I did end up going back to school, that I would get a degree in math. I think it would be
Really?
I think it would be fun to know all of the maths.
I don't think I would do that.
What do you do with
Uh,
a math degree other than like teach math though?
yeah, there's that, but I don't know. I don't know if I would like pure theoretical math. I never really was into like proofs and stuff. That
Hmm.
I don't know. That stuff was just weird to me. If I would go back, I would do computer science.
Would you really?
If I could go back in time and have a conversation with myself about what old me should study, I would say yeah, you should do computer science.
Oh, okay. What if you were going to get a new degree now?
Oh, okay, like just for fun.
Yeah, you're rich, you don't have any care in the world. You're
Okay,
just
yeah,
doing
or
it
like
to
I'm
do it.
retired and I just want to get another degree.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I've thought about this. Um, I think like man, I feel like I had an answer ready for this, like ready to go for this, but I can't remember what it was. Um, I kind of think I would want to study like economics.
Mm.
Like economics is interesting to me, but I don't know if I would really like studying it. I don't know if like the day to day of actually doing it is cool or not. I thought about studying finance, and then I took an accounting class, and it was like the worst class I ever took, and I hated it.
um, that's interesting. Have you dealt with a lot of like accounting stuff at jobs and stuff? I feel like I do a lot of accounting stuff at work.
No,
Hmm.
no, I really haven't. I just find economics interesting. But I also think like I don't know. I almost want to say like literature or something, but like I don't want a bunch of reading assignments, which is a big part of that. I
Yeah,
love the thing is like I love reading, but like I can't. I don't want to like read some book that I have to read. You know what I mean?
yeah. You want to read what you want to read.
Yeah, exactly. Which I could just do. You could just do that. You can just buy books and just read them. So yeah, probably not. Probably not. Actually, I think philosophy maybe.
Philosophy would be a really interesting one. Just like knowing the history of where ideas come from, I think is really interesting, and knowing like I don't know, seeing the ways in which the ideas that are permeating our culture have like we've seen these ideas before. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like humanity has come across these ideas, and we just kind of like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you love it when you get like an interesting idea and then you like find out that somebody came up with it like 300 years ago?
You're like, if only I'd known some
Like,
philosophy, I would have known.
I forget what it's called, but there's a name for like the idea that like everyone looks at colors differently, right? Like everyone they see a different color, but because that color was the same color to them their whole lives, they call it the same thing you call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I don't
There's
know the
like
name for it.
yeah, but there's a philosopher who came up with this. But I swear, dude, when I was a kid, I came up with this idea from scratch. I had this exact thing, and I came up with it, and then like I found out that like it was just a thing that already existed.
Like, yeah, some guy came up with that.
Yeah,
Does that bum you out?
it definitely did when I was like 12 or whatever.
It's hard to come up with new ideas, like
That does bum
brand
me out
new.
a little bit. Yeah, that like you'll never be able to just like discover gravity or something.
Yeah, I think it would be fun in the old days to like be an explorer. There's no like unexplored
Oh
lands in
yeah,
the world anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I guess that's why people get into caving
Hmm.
if they're really crazy. But yeah, there's not like we're just gonna go to this continent and like walk across it and
Yeah,
see what we find.
yeah.
And there's all kinds of like freaky animals and stuff. That doesn't really exist anymore. There's tons of
People.
stuff underwater, but
That's true.
that's a different thing. That's a different thing, you know. That's not just like wandering around with a gun, you know.
Yeah, I just think I think there's something very different about our mindset and the world that we live in. That like you know we know now that there were like people living in these parts of the land that were unexplored, but like the way people thought about it, I think was very much like, yeah, there are parts of the world that like we don't know about, and you could just like
Yeah,
you could start in Kansas and just walk for miles and explore new stuff.
yeah. And it was basically like a different planet.
Yeah,
You
you could
know.
find some mountains.
Yeah.
I didn't
But I
know
mean,
there were
also
mountains there.
like doing that actually probably was like totally terrible for real. Like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
you're like getting eaten by, you get bit by poisonous snakes and like you're starving and dying of dysentery. It's probably sucks really bad actually.
yeah. I think I would have lasted about 3 days.
3 whole days. I don't think I'm lasting that long. um, no, but actually, I wonder, would I want to study Spanish? Because I've always wanted to get better at Spanish, but I don't know if I really would studying it as a degree.
What do you get with a degree in Spanish? Are you studying like Spanish literature?
I don't know. That's kind of my thing. I don't really know. Like, but I mean, I remember meeting people in college that were like, yeah, I'm a senior in a bachelor's degree in French, and I'd be like, say something in French, and they'd be like, I can't. And like literally like that, and it's
Fizz
like,
buzz.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But if it's like, yeah, I spend 4 years. I mean, I guess it's one of those things. You know, you get out of it what you put into it. If I could spend four
Sure.
years just like really, really going all the way into Spanish, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really
But then
cool
I also feel like I'd probably hate like the first year or two.
because you know it already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to assume that a college level degree in Spanish assumes that you know something already, right?
Yeah, they're probably assuming you've done like high school Spanish, which
Right.
is like, if I were to take a high school Spanish class right now, I'd probably learn a couple words. So yeah. I think that's my final answer. I'll have to get back to you on the terrible job, though.
Removing wasps' nests and stuff like that, that would be like high. That'd be very low on my list. That might be. It's like wasp nest exterminator, and then below that is dentist. Think about it. A lot of bad jobs in the world.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you guys know next time.
See you guys.
See ya.
1x Developer Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Colin. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of the 1x Developer Podcast, and let you know that if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to tell us about your day, you can reach us at X, formerly known as Twitter, at 1x Developer Podcast. We're also on YouTube at 1x Developer Podcast. You can email us if you're weird at 1xdeveloperpodcast@protonmail.com. And lastly, don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that stuff, so you don't miss any further episodes of the 1x Developer Podcast. Thanks so much. See you next time.